Good morning, sports fans, and welcome to our first Saturday morning version of the Scoreboard, your morning report. Talk about Saturday morning confusion. This is it. In fact, we're going to venture today into giving a few baseball stats as well. And baseball stats are so easy to come by. I mean, you can have for a left-handed batter who is switch hitting on a windy night on the east side of town with a sore right ankle, and you get a stat for that and a place in the book. Lots and lots of stats for baseball guys this week. First of all, though, we have to report the sad news from Kamloops, BC. It's curtains not for the combines, but for the Petes. Yes, Gavin White and his Peterborough Petes fell 4-1 last night to Seattle, and Seattle will now advance to today's final against the Patricois Quebec Remparts for the Memorial Cup for 2023. Pete's made a run of it after a slow start out in Kamloops, but they were more than respectable, and it's been a great but brief OHL career for Gavin White, and we're all excited to see what happens for him next. Okay, for the variation, let's take a look at baseball and scores last night. Look at this. Blue Jays were in New York, played the Mets. I guess it's not Shea Stadium anymore. I was at Shea Stadium 1966, month of June, and got to see Sandy Koufax and Don Drysdale pitch in Shea Stadium. It was a 4-game series with the Mets and the Dodgers. I remember also Ed Kranepool playing first base for the Mets that year. The year before, he was in grade 12, senior in high school, skipped school to go to the Mets home opener, and this year he's playing first base for the Mets. Also last night, Orioles, that American League East is so true. Orioles get another big win, and out on the West Coast, look at that, Dodgers over the Yankees 8-4. Those were the days when I was a Dodger fan. My brother and I were Dodger fans, but with the Expos came along, changed that for me, and now with the demise of the Expos, of course, I'm a Blue Jay fan. Let's see what we can do in terms of standings. American League East, Tampa Bay still on top. Of course, what a fantastic start they've had to this 2023 season. 40 wins, only 18 losses. Baltimore, with their win last night, 3.5 games behind, 36-21. Yankees, after losing to the Dodgers, 6.5 games behind, 34-25. Blue Jays, 31-27, 9 games behind. You know that'd be good enough for first place in the Central, American League Central. And there's the Red Sox. Every team in this division over 500, 10 games behind. Speaking of that Central Division, Minnesota Twins on top, Tigers, Cleveland, White Sox, and the Kansas City Royals at the bottom of the pack there, 13.5 games behind Minnesota. In the West, Texas on top, Houston 2.5 games back, Seattle 7.5, as are the Angels, and the Oakland Athletics are 25.5 games behind. Look at that record for Athletics, 12-47. Okay, let's try to take a look at some stats here. This is batting average, and on top, Blue Jays own Bo Bichette, 335. Bo Bichette. Switching over to the pitching side, we see a dearth of Blue Jays players here. They aren't in this stat. Home runs. Who else but the big guy, and I mean big, Aaron Judge from the Yankees on top with 18 home runs. Back to pitching. Look at the saves. Look at this. Third place, Jordan Romano. 14 saves. He's having another good year as a saver, and he's, I think Jordan's a Markham boy, so he's right from Toronto. Stolen bases. Look at this, down in fourth place. Whit Merrifield. Oh, gotta love any ball player named Whit, right? Whit Merrifield with 15 stolen bases. Back on the pitching side, look at the strikeouts. Who's on top with 100? Kevin Gausman. Hits. Whoa. Look at this, top 5 at the top. Bo Bichette. And then back in that dearth of players with, surplus of players with hits in the 60s, rounding out the top 5, Vladdy Jr. from the Blue Jays. Well represented there. RBIs, once again, we don't see any Blue Jays here in our RBI leaders for the season so far. But here's one of the most promising stats. And this is the quality starts from the pitching staff. And we certainly have the Blue Jays well represented here with Kevin Gausman and Chris Bissett. Chris had another shutout. I think he went 6 2/3 innings in last night's game with a shutout. I might have had one more stat. Oh, yeah, ERA, yes. And we don't have anybody from the Blue Jays here in this very tight race in the American League. By the way, these stats that I'm showing you are all American League. Well, that is it for today. That's our first attempt at a Saturday morning report, and it's our first attempt with baseball stats. We'll work on improving the quality of those images. Perhaps the size needs to be enlarged a little bit. And once again, curtains for the Petes as they lost 4-1 to Seattle last night out in Kamloops in the Memorial Cup. And the end of the junior career for our neighbor Gavin White. And we're anxious to see what are his next steps. Thanks very much for watching. We don't know if we'll be doing one tomorrow or not, but we may be. Baseball, so many games, so many stats. Thanks for watching.